Hey, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our SEAC meeting for Monday, March the 9th. Okay, so we'll start off this evening with our land acknowledgement of traditional territory. Superintendent Jacobs, are you all right to read that for us this evening?
Yes.
Thank you.
Simcoe County District School Board acknowledges that we are situated on the traditional land of the Anishinaabeg. The Anishinaabeg include the Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi nations, collectively known as the Three Fires Confederacy. We are dedicated to honoring Indigenous history and culture and committed to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation and respect with all First Nation, Métis, and Inuit people.
Thank you very much. Okay, and then I have our SEAC statement of beliefs for this evening. Okay, so the Special Education Advisory Committee Statement of Beliefs. Based on our belief in respect, leadership, integrity, collaboration, compassion, student-driven services, and the right of all students to be included, we advocate that all students have equitable opportunities to learn and participate in inclusive school communities. They are supported in developing and maintaining relationships and participating in freely chosen activities and groups that result in a sense of belonging. Students' unique learning styles are recognized and planned for in a caring, sensitive manner, enabling them to learn and participate with dignity and respect. Students' strengths and special education needs are identified and responded to early, as this is paramount to their growth and development. Based on best practices and research, the SCDSB will adopt proactive, innovative practices to promote individual student capacities and gifts while addressing their special education needs. Education services are delivered using a collaborative and flexible process centered on the strengths and needs of the students, inclusive of family, school, and community, and based on the best learning outcomes for the student. The student's voice is key to all decisions made on behalf of and with the student. Okay, so we do have regrets this evening from Annette Cole, and we should have everybody else joining us this evening. We do have some guests for delegation as well, but we'll just kind of move through our agenda a little bit, and then I'll introduce everybody there. Okay. So at this time, I would be looking for a mover to approve our agenda as printed this evening. Do I have a mover for that? Kevin, thank you very much. Seconder, Trustee Lloyd. All those in favor? And that carries. Thank you very much. All right. And next, I'd be looking for an approval for our minutes from our February 9th meeting. Do I have a mover for that? Kevin, thank you very much. The seconder, Andrea, thank you. Any questions or comments on our previous minutes? Okay, not seeing any, so I'll call the question. All those in favor? And that carries. Thank you very much. All right. Do we have any declaration of conflict of interest this evening? Okay, not seeing any. Okay, so that takes us to 7 on our agenda. So for presentations, so everyone would have seen in in your package there that we do have some delegations this evening. So we will be going through there. So I just kind of wanted to go through the process. So so sorry, I'm just kind of going to go through the process informally and then we'll go through it formally. Just because we haven't really done this at SEAC before or in a very, very long time. I don't think since any of us have been here. We'll introduce our delegates. They will get 10 minutes to present from what they have sent in to us. Then the committee will have 10 minutes of questions of clarification. So it's not a time for us to get into a discussion or a back and forth with our delegates, but it is a moment that if you want to clarify something that they have talked about, that you can ask at that point. Like I said, this part of our agenda is not really a time where we can have an open discussion about the topics of the delegation, but further in our agenda under other matters, we can absolutely discuss those things then. So our delegates will not be a part of that conversation, but they are still welcome to be in the meeting and view it, but they just won't be part of that conversation. That would be with the committee. Okay. Does anyone have any questions? Everyone clear on the process that we're doing for our committee members? Yes. Okay. And yes, I did see the question there. Yeah. So our SEAC meetings are recorded. We're not streamed live. They're recorded this evening and then posted the next day. So I believe it will be posted tomorrow. Okay. Okay. So like I said, now I'm going to do this formally and correctly. So we have 3 verbal delegations this evening. One from Aria O, Charles Taylor, and Jenna Mitchell. So our delegates will be invited to speak in the order listed on the agenda. Each delegate is allowed up to 10 minutes for your presentation, and SEAC members would have 10 minutes for questions of clarification. So Superintendent Jacobs, maybe if you can just give a little wave there. So if you can just keep an eye out for him, he will give you a wave when you only have 2 minutes left of your time, okay? So just kind of keep an eye on that, okay? But other than that, you can feel free to get started. So we are going to start with Aria. So Aria, my name is Brandy. I don't know if I said that at the very beginning. So thank you so much for joining us. And whenever you're ready, you can unmute yourself and go ahead, okay?
All right, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Today, I want to speak about something that has a direct impact on my life and the lives of many students like me. Gifted classroom programming and why it should remain in use. There is often debate about whether gifted programs are necessary. Some people believe they create division, others think all students should simply learn in the same classroom environment. While equality in education is extremely important, equity is just as important. Equity means recognizing that different students have different learning needs. Gifted programming is not about labeling students as better, it is about meeting educational needs that are different. Without gifted programs, many students face challenges that often go unnoticed. One of the biggest issues is social difference. When students think or learn differently from most of their peers, it can feel isolating. Conversations may not connect, interests may not align, humor may be misunderstood. This can lead to feeling out of place, like you don't fully belong anywhere. School becomes less about learning and more about trying to fit in. That sense of being different can sometimes lead to bullying. When someone stands out academically or thinks in unique ways, they may be labeled unfairly. Being teased for being too smart or too different can damage confidence and self-esteem. Over time, this can create emotional stress that no student should have to carry alone. Without the appropriate level of challenge, gifted students can also become distracted or uninterested in class. When material is repetitive or moves too slowly, the brain looks for stimulation elsewhere. This can look like daydreaming, talking, or losing focus, not because the student does not care, but because they're not being intellectually engaged. When students are not challenged, motivation decreases. Learning becomes boring rather than exciting. Curiosity fades, and the joy of discovering something new disappears. And when motivation drops, performance can drop too, even in students who are fully capable of more. For many gifted students, including myself, anxiety can also increase in environments that do not meet our needs. When you feel different, misunderstood, or understimulated, it creates internal frustration. You may question yourself, you may feel pressured to hide your abilities, and over time, this heightened anxiety can affect your overall well-being. However, being a student in a gifted classroom changes that experience completely. In a gifted program, I learned life skills that went far beyond academics. I learned how to collaborate with peers who think in complex and creative ways. I learned time management through challenging projects, and I learned how to handle constructive criticism and push myself to improve. These are skills that will benefit me far into the future. Gifted programs also engage students with interesting and enriched material. Instead of repeating concepts we already understand, we dive deeper, we explore connections, and we ask bigger questions. Learning finally becomes exciting again. School becomes a place of discovery rather than repetition. Another extremely important benefit is emotional development. In gifted programming, I learned to recognize my emotions and handle them appropriately. Many gifted students experience emotion intensely. Without guidance, that intensity can become very overwhelming. Gifted programs often provide support that helps students understand themselves better, how to manage stress, perfectionism, and sensitivity. That emotional awareness is just as important as academic achievement. Gifted programs also help develop flexible thinking skills. We are encouraged to look at problems from multiple perspectives. We learn that there's not always just one correct answer. We are challenged to think creatively and adapt to our ideas. These flexible thinking skills are essential in today's world, where innovation and problem solving drive progress. Most importantly, gifted programming contributes to overall well-being and happiness. When students feel understood, challenged, and supportive, they thrive. They develop confidence. They build friendship with peers who share similar interests. They feel a sense of belonging, and belonging is one of the most important factors in a student's success. This is not about creating separation, it is about creating appropriate environments for growth. Just as students who struggle academically receive additional support, students who require advanced academic challenges also deserve support. Education should meet students where they are, whether that means extra help or extra challenge. Removing gifted classroom programs would not create fairness, it would remove necessary support for students whose needs are different. When we ignore those needs, we risk increasing disengagement, anxiety, and lost potential. Gifted students are not asking for an advantage, they're asking for understanding. They're asking for an environment where they can grow just like every other student. Education should not aim to make everyone the same, it should aim to help every student become the best version of themselves. Gifted programming within a congregated class allows students like me to stay curious, motivated, emotionally aware, and confident. It helps us build life skills, flexible thinking, and meaningful connections. It supports our mental well-being and gives us a true sense of belonging. According to various citations, like the Canadian Psychological Association, it is essential to help gifted kids build a full, flexible sense of self, not just based on achievement, but to protect their mental well-being. This is provided in the gifted classroom and has been for years. That is why gifted classroom programming should stay in use, not as a privilege, but as a necessary part of an equitable education system. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Aria. Okay, so this part of the process here is that people have a chance to ask you some questions. Are you okay with that?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for your bravery. It's not always easy to come to a thing like this and talk up like you are. So I really appreciate your hard work. Thank you. Okay, does anyone have any questions? Any committee members have any questions for our guests this evening? Okay, I'm not seeing any right now. Oh, there we go. Okay, Kevin, go ahead.
Not a question, really, because the young woman was exceptionally clear and concise. And actually, I thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, well, I'm not seeing any other questions, Aria, but I will thank you very much again. Like I said, I thank you for your bravery and I thank you for speaking up. I really do. I think everybody here really appreciates that, and we all think you're pretty fantastic.
Thank you.
Okay, you're most welcome. If you wanted to disconnect and you guys would like to go on with your evening, you are most welcome to. But if you want to stay and watch the rest of our meeting, you're most welcome to do that as well too. There won't be another chance for you to participate and talk, but if you want to stay, you can feel free. Okay. Okay. All right. So next up on our delegation agenda, we have Mr. Charles Taylor. So Mr. Taylor, did you want me to go through the process again, or you're good? 10 minutes?
I'm good. It was
Okay.
very clear. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. All right, then you can feel free to start whenever you're ready. Thanks.
Absolutely. And I'd just like to echo the sentiment about Aria's presentation. The poise, the dignity, it's remarkable, a true testament, I think, to the congregated gifted classroom placements. So good evening, Chair and members of SEAC. My name is Charles. My daughter is a 5th grade student in the gifted program at Codrington Public School. I'm here to express concern regarding the school board's decision to phase out grade 4 admissions to congregated gifted classroom placements. The board describes this change as a transformation of gifted programming aimed at improving equity, consistency, and access by supporting gifted learners in their home schools. I have been assured that this shift is reflective of current research on gifted education and system data, emphasizing that enrichment, extension, and social emotional supports can be delivered effectively in inclusive settings when staff are well supported. So a bit about me, I'm a pharmacist in the Barrie community. Research and data is kind of my thing. Patients, family physicians, specialists, they all rely on me to provide accurate advice and recommendations regarding patient health on a daily basis. These recommendations must be strongly supported by the available research and data in order to keep patients safe and healthy. So in similar fashion, I applied my skill set to the issue at hand. I was surprised and disappointed to find no impactful research or evidence of any kind that gifted students have stronger outcomes outside of community classrooms. None. In fact, the only available research of appropriate significance and validity is in clear favor of the opposite. These students do not simply thrive in a congregated class environment. The research states that they require these environments to succeed. I would like to share some of this research with you today. A meta-analysis of peer-reviewed studies conducted by Karen B. Rogers spanning multiple decades found that gifted students experience significant academic gains when educated with intellectual peers in congregated settings. Congregated gifted classrooms allow educators to deliver instruction at an accelerated pace, support curriculum compaction, and promote deeper learning in complex ideas. While I understand that universal design for learning strategies can support differentiation in inclusive classrooms, UDL alone does not ensure consistent intellectual peer interaction, daily pacing matched to readiness, or depth of conceptual challenge. A meta-analysis from the Journal of Computing and Higher Education found that UDL research often oversells outcomes without strong empirical evidence. Additionally, congregated gifted classrooms foster a strong sense of belonging and support social emotional well-being. According to a study by Neihart et al., the gifted population often feels isolated or misunderstood, and traits like perfectionism, heightened sensitivity, and overexcitability can increase risk for depression and suicidal ideation. Peer connections are critical for social emotional development. They help gifted learners build a sense of belonging, validate their cognitive identity, and reduce the stress and isolation that often accompanies advanced ability. These benefits cannot be reliably replicated in homeschool placements, where gifted students are widely distributed, even with strong differentiation or enrichment activities. Of course, system-wide enrichment opportunities are valuable, but they only occur periodically and cannot act as a replacement for daily interactions within a congregated setting. Current opportunities such as the Debaters Forum, the Science Fair, the Heritage Fair, the Chess Tournament, and the Junior Math Road Rally, they serve limited age groups. They occur only a few times each year and often rely heavily on the time and commitment of teacher volunteers to organize and support them. As a result, while they enrich the system, it is clear that they cannot provide the consistent, daily intellectual peer interaction that these identified students require. So as I alluded to before, I'm a numbers guy. There are approximately 58,000 students in the board's 105 schools, of whom about 600, or 1%, are currently identified as gifted. When students with this relatively low incidence exceptionality are distributed across all schools in the district, the likelihood of forming consistent intellectual peer groups within classrooms is extremely limited. In many schools, there may be only one identified gifted student per grade, or none at all, making the commonly prescribed IEP accommodation of ongoing interaction with intellectual peers impossible to sustain. Large-scale analyses published by Kulik and Kulik also found that enriched and accelerated classes produce moderate to large positive effects for gifted students without negatively impacting other students. In fact, a century of data synthesized by Steenberg and Hu et al. Suggests that when the range of readiness within a single classroom becomes extremely wide, it can detract from meeting the needs and pacing of struggling students. In most classrooms, instruction must be paced to the learning needs of the majority of students. When an identified student's ability is 2 to 3 standard deviations above the mean, the practical outcome is often independent work or occasional extension tasks rather than sustained advanced instruction. Independent work, however, is not equivalent to appropriately paced education. In addition, special education resource teachers already support a wide range of exceptionalities and increasingly complex student needs. In many schools, CERTs are frequently required to prioritize urgent behavioral, learning, and mental health supports. Expecting this existing structure to consistently deliver specialized programming across every school places additional demands on a system that is already stretched. The board has framed the proposed shift primarily as a measure to increase equity. However, removing a specialized placement option does not increase equity if it reduces access to environments designed to meet a student population's learning needs. Research increasingly points toward expanding access to gifted services and strengthening identification systems rather than eliminating specialized programs. The evidence is clear. If our goal is to increase equity in special education, we need to expand access, not reduce or eliminate it entirely. I have pages and pages of citations for empirical studies and meta-analyses here. I'm barely scratching the surface. But the burden of proof does not rest on me. I'm not the one proposing an evidence-based policy change to special education. Before the phasing out of congregated classes begins, families and educators need clear evidence that the proposed model can deliver equivalent opportunities for appropriate pacing, sustained intellectual peer interaction, and student well-being. I thank you for your time and for your continued commitment to supporting all exceptional learners in our community.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Taylor, for your presentation. Committee members, do we have any questions for Mr. Taylor this evening? Kevin, go ahead.
Thank you. You mentioned a number of studies. Would it be possible to send links to those studies, because they're not included in your presentation that I've got here anyway?
Absolutely.
So I'll read them over.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. If you could send those, you were communicating with Executive Assistant Lori Wright. If you could just send those through her, we can make sure Kevin gets those.
I will do that.
Thank you. Right. Any other questions of clarification at this time from our committee members? Okay, I'm not seeing any at this time, so thank you very much, Mr. Taylor. Like I said, you can feel free to go on with your evening if you wanted to disconnect, but if you'd like to stay, you're most welcome. We will probably have a discussion about this under other matters, which again, you wouldn't be able to participate, but you can absolutely stay and view if you like.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, all right, so next up we have Jenna Mitchell. Jenna, I feel like I probably don't need to tell you the process. You've done that. You've seen it a couple times. So like I said, whenever you're ready, you can feel free to go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, SEAC members. I'm here to discuss the winding down of the Congregate Gifted program. My perspective stems from being a former student with lived experience in different iterations of gifted programming in Ontario, as well as from my role as a parent with one child currently thriving in a congregated gifted classroom and another who is on track to be directly affected by the decision to wind down this program. I'd like to speak about how the structure, training, and resources affect a child with special needs in the past, present, and future of gifted education in Simcoe County. The purpose of school is not to make all students the same, but to help each student progress from where they are. For most gifted students, this includes some sort of extension or acceleration that can happen in various ways. Classrooms have always had a wide range of individual needs, but resources have always been catered to achieving grade level. Teachers are educated and trained in teaching the average child. Providing accelerated or compacted instruction is difficult without interfering with the larger class. Teachers try, but meeting the needs of one profoundly advanced learner has always been overtaken by the demands of the whole class and the needs of other exceptionalities. That is not a criticism of the classroom teachers, but a recognition of the structure within which they work. As a child, I went through an integrated model of education in Ontario with no opportunity for a congregated classroom. I received extensions, some acceleration, and additional programming in elementary school. Extension was taking away reading time to be a reading helper to classmates, being given extra math worksheets at grade level to do unfinished work early, and different expectations, such as reading all of the book options at grade level that were available to me. Acceleration was sometimes attempted through taking a pretest, and upon receiving a perfect score, I could be excused from that week's lessons if I had to keep to myself to keep occupied. It was isolating to not do the same work as my peers, but also frustrating when the only choice was to do the same work. There was no structure, sporadic resources, and teachers that weren't trained on how to challenge me. I spent 99.9% of my hours in general classroom meeting other gifted students only a few times per year to do extra activities at my level. This was not enough time to build a relationship with peers, so projects were all independent, never collaborative. For me, the result was that I experienced negative impacts from that model. By the time I was my son's age, I was creating my own obstacles just to make school bearable, while still masking disengagement with good grades. I struggled to relate to peers, became increasingly disconnected from school despite strong academic performance, and had a poor attendance. It became easier to seek challenges outside of school than within it, and that led to choices that were not always healthy or appropriate for someone my age. My experience taught me that when gifted education relies solely on differentiation without structure, consistency, and training, even high-achieving students can fall through the cracks. I'm concerned this is a path in which we are headed in cutting access to county classrooms. Children with special needs have to get the proper structure and resources to support their learning journey. That's why the difference I see in my son's current experience is so significant. I have one child who is currently thriving in the Congregate Gifted program in grade 7 at Ferndale Woods after having started at Codrington in grade 4. We were lucky to have this opportunity. Before kindergarten, he could already read and solve math problems. Early in school, his teachers struggled to identify the level of his strengths in a timely way because assessments for his grade were not adequate. After identification, materials were not readily available at his level. There were never books at his level. Teachers struggled to find any level appropriate texts that were also age appropriate. Even when he took his time, he was constantly waiting for other kids to finish so he could move on. There were very few peers who could understand his thoughts, his pace, the complexity of his discussion points. By grade 3, his teacher was using him more as a verification for her work, and he was helping her determine alternate ways to present the curriculum that he had already mastered. He was already at the point that he didn't have the proper structure and resources to support his learning journey. He had already reached the point where he could not continue progressing without having to do it largely on his own. In the Congregate Gifted classroom, that changed. He had benefited from curriculum compacting and acceleration. When he finishes his work, he finds his peers finishing at the same time, unlike his past experiences. This class is able to take a pre-math test, and if they show mastery in the topics, they're skipped entirely together, and the class moves on together, unlike my isolating experiences. He has had access to higher level materials that his teachers often struggled to source at his old school. I was provided tips about appropriate reading materials for his age and reading level by his teacher even before his first day at Codrington. His instructors have the knowledge and skills to help him with skills of daily living, as well as to grow to his full potential. But he doesn't need to rely on them for inspiration. He has a true peer group of intellectual collaboration. They push each other to improve, such as supporting each other in obtaining faster Rubik's Cube algorithm solves by sharing new algorithms. He has had extension opportunities that develop higher order thinking and allow students to work at an appropriate depth and pace collaboratively. He is proud of additional skills he has developed and the peer group that shares his interests. It is a combination of intellectual peers with appropriately adapted instruction that has made the difference. That is exactly what this congregated classroom provides. I understand that not every gifted child wants to be or should be in a congregated classroom. Children with exceptionalities learn in different ways, and there isn't always a cookie-cutter solution. However, in Simcoe County, there are enough kids that this is the solution, a solution of a congregated gifted classroom to ensure that they never fall through the cracks. My son's not just doing well academically. He's engaged, he's challenged, he has access to learning materials that matches his demonstrated readiness. He's with peers who think in ways that make sense to him. This matters academically, socially, and emotionally. My youngest child is already rapidly progressing and struggling to find appropriate and challenging material and peers. I expect that he will further experience disconnect from his peers if there's not a pathway that supports him, such as my older son, especially if it's found that he has other exceptionalities. This becomes an equity issue. Giftedness is an identified exceptionality under Ontario's framework. Exceptionality is about recognizing that some students have distinct learning profiles that require an appropriate educational response. That principle should apply consistently across all identified exceptionalities. Ensuring equity means supporting students at their demonstrated level of need. Removing one category of specialized support while maintaining others raises important equity questions. I would appreciate transparency about whether other exceptionalities are facing similar program changes, and if not, why gifted programming is uniquely affected. I'm also seeking clarity on the evidence and rationale informing this decision. The available research, such as Charles mentioned, does not support eliminating self-contained gifted classrooms as an effective education model. Meta-analysis conducted by Karen B. Rogers found that full-time ability grouping, including self-contained gifted classrooms, produces significant academic gains for gifted learners compared to heterogeneous classroom placements. These analyses also show that social and emotional outcomes are generally neutral to positive when gifted students learn alongside intellectual peers. Importantly, the strongest academic benefits occur when ability grouping is paired with curriculum modifications such as acceleration, enrichment, or curriculum compacting. This is exactly, once again, what this current program offers. The decision to wind down the program was announced without meaningful consultation, even though it will affect both gifted students and general classrooms. Families were not meaningfully brought into the conversation before such a significant change was announced. So I'm asking, what was the rationale for winding down the program, and what data was used that supports this as leading to the best outcomes for these gifted students? What changed since the expansion 2 years ago? Why was there no consultation? In previous communications, one of the trustees wrote, unfortunately, due to funding limitation, the gifted program is no longer able to continue operating in its current format. What financial savings are anticipated with this cut, and what other programs are benefiting from these funding reallocations? I also want to ask how this proposed model will be different from the fully integrated model that failed to provide consistent acceleration and support in the past for both myself and my oldest son. And what impact will this have on general classrooms going forward? What supports will regular classrooms receive to provide curriculum compacting, higher grade materials, mathematics extension, and meaningful differentiated programming that can match the student? Will there be specialized training for all teachers to support these students effectively? Will students have regular access to other children with similar exceptionalities to develop relationships? And if so, how often? These questions are especially important for twice exceptional students. Twice exceptional learners are among the most misunderstood students in integrated classrooms. Their strengths can mask disabilities and their disabilities can mask strengths. Congregated programs can provide both intellectual match and earlier recognition of asynchronous development. A common misconception is that giftedness is an advantage. Giftedness is a form of special needs where the child needs supports to learn. The congregated classroom is not about advantage, it is about appropriate fit and support. It is about whether students with a recognized exceptionality will continue to have access to a learning environment that matches their needs. It is about whether decisions affecting exceptional learners will be grounded in evidence, consultation, and long-term planning, and it's about whether we are prepared to move a program that is working without clearly explaining what will replace it, how it will be implemented, and how successful will be measured. I'm respectfully asking the board and SEAC to pause in this decision, consult meaningfully with families in Simcoe County, and ensure that any decision affecting exceptional learners is grounded in evidence and long-term planning. I'm also asking that grade 4 intake be maintained while that consultation and evidence review are completed. These decisions shape children's trajectories, and they deserve careful, transparent consideration. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shanna. I'm sorry, I was going to call you Miss Mitchell, Miss Mitchell. I should have asked you that before. I should have asked you that first. Are you a Mrs.? Should I call you Mrs. Mitchell?
Mrs. Mitchell is fine, thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. It's always a harder choice for the woman. I can't just call you Mr. Okay, thank you very much, Mrs. Mitchell. I appreciate your presentation. Okay, so at this time, I'll ask the same question. Do our committee members have any questions of clarification for our presenter at this time? Kevin, go ahead.
As I asked Mr. Taylor before you, if you have any references to the study you mentioned, please send them along because I would love to go through everything that you're mentioning. And for other members of the committee who aren't as familiar with some of the terminology, the 2E students, right, or the dual exceptionality students, if you want to clarify what exactly you meant by that.
For sure. So sometimes students have other exceptionalities. For instance, they may have ADHD or autism, other things that may make them a special needs, special education child. So my younger son was very delayed in speaking. He doesn't interact with children the way that you'd normally expect a child to, and they're so making friends with peers is often difficult for that group, let alone once you add something, a second exceptionality, in this case, often giftedness as well, just adds layers of a complication to it. And of course, yes, we can send over, I think I can chat with Charles to make sure that we're not duplicating anything, but we can send a list of all of our references for yes.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Like I mentioned earlier, you can send that to Lori Wright.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions of clarification from the committee at this time? Okay, I'm not seeing any. So I should have done this after each one of your delegations. So my apologies, but I'm going to all three of you at once. So at this time, the chairperson may receive your submission as information or refer it to the Director of Education for review and action, or review it to a standing committee for review and report. So Mrs. Mitchell, I will be accepting your delegation for information. Mr. Taylor, I will be accepting your delegation for information. And Aria, thank you. I will be accepting your delegation for information. Okay, so thank you very much to all three of you. Like I mentioned, we will move on with our agenda now, but under other matters, the committee does have the opportunity to have a discussion. So if you'd like to stay and just keep muted, you're welcome to stay and watch the rest of the meeting. Okay. Okay. All right. So moving on in our agenda, we have no items for decision this evening. So that takes us to C, items for information. We have no follow-up from previous meeting. So that takes us to staff reports. Sorry, I feel like I'm looking at the wrong agenda that I have in front of me. I just realized I printed out the wrong agenda. Then that's what I have in front of me. I really apologize, everybody. Give me 1 second here. I like to have my paper, but it would help if I had the right paper. Sorry, I'm just scrolling very quickly. Okay. Okay, sorry. Now that I'm looking at the proper agenda, I really apologize, everyone. It's like I'm new here. I just did want to mention as well that we did have our written delegations, so they were included in your package and available for everyone to read there. Everyone got that? Yes, so they're in your package. Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Okay. Oh, now I'm all thrown off. Okay, so back to our agenda where I was. So now, like I said, so 2A, we have staff reports. So special education budget development with Superintendent Corey Van Nispen. Corey, go ahead whenever you're ready.
Thank you. And I'll just pull up my screen here. Hopefully everybody sees the title page there. Awesome. All right, and thank you and good evening. We always come in March to run through the funding model for special education with the SEAC team. And for those that have been around for a while, not much usually changes year to year. Again, this year, we've had no indication of any major changes coming our way, so we do not anticipate anything significant. So what we'll do is we'll run through the model as we know it today. There we go. Okay, special education is enveloped under the core education model. Being enveloped means that the funding attracted and received for special education can only be spent on special education. And if any funds are carried over to the next year, they are to be spent only on special education. So bear with me as I take you through the various components of the core education model, as I will be using the ministry terminology and definitions they have provided. The Special Education Fund is made up of 4 allocations you see on the slide in front of you. In addition to that, we have the regular stream funding that all students attract for classroom funding, learning resource funds, and the teacher qualification and expertise, which are other buckets under the core education funding. Focusing in on the special education allocations, so the first 4 bullets. The first one is the special education per pupil allocation. This funding is primarily intended for staffing costs such as teachers, EAs, educational assistants, professional paraprofessionals, and professional development and learning materials. This funding is based on the total enrollment of the students of the board, not just students with identified special education needs, making this the largest attractor of funds for special education. Next categories are differentiated needs allocation. And this fund is based on assessments of special education needs in school boards and each school board's varying ability to support its students with special education needs. This category here will look at factors that include geography, language, and socio-demographics. Differentiated needs allocation has 7 components. The first piece is under the special education statistical prediction model. So this one's got some math behind it. This model estimates the percentage of students in a school board likely to need special education programming and/or services utilizing the federal government's long-form census and other sources. Second piece is the measures of variability, and it uses 7 categories of information grouped into 2 areas. First area being the school board profile of special education needs, and that consists of special education programs and services, as well as the Education Quality and Accountability Office, which looks at participation and achievement in EQAO assessments by students with special education needs. And we also have they look at credit accumulation, locally developed and alternative non-credit courses. The other category is school board's ability to respond to these needs. And this brings in a lens to the remote and rural adjustment, the Indigenous adjustment, French language school board adjustment, and Northern adjustment. Back to our differentiated needs allocation, the third component is collaboration and integration base. This funding is provided to every school board. It must be used to explore collaborative and integrated approaches to serving students with special education needs. Fourth category is our multidisciplinary supports. And this funding is for multidisciplinary teams and resources that help to build board capacity, supports special education assessments, and helps educators and other staff understand and adapt to the unique needs of their students. Fifth category is local special education priorities. This funding is to enhance supports for students with special education needs by addressing local priorities. This can include more educational and/or professional paraprofessional staff, as well as transition supports. Sixth category is our early math intervention. This is funding to school boards so they can run early math intervention for elementary students with special education needs. This funding is meant to help increase student engagement, close learning and achievement gaps, reduce below-grade curriculum expectations, and provide supports to the transition into a de-streamed grade 9 curriculum. Seventh and last area of this piece is the professional assessments. And this funding is to conduct or provide professional assessments in person or virtually, as well as purchase, develop, and/or enhance a board-level information system to track data, processes, and practices related to conducting professional assessments, and/or provide funding for professional services to develop school board infrastructure. This component became a permanent component of the special education funding two funding models ago. We then have our complex supports allocation, and this has 3 components incorporated into it. First one is the special incidents portion, and this funding supports students with extremely high needs who require more than 2 full-time staff to address the health and/or safety needs of these students, as well as other students in the school. We have the Education and Community Partnership Program, and this school boards use this funding to provide education programs to students in care, treatment, or detention facilities. And then we have the behavior expertise, and this is funding school boards to hire board-level applied behavior analysis, ABA, expertise professionals. And it's as well support educators with implementing ABA instructional methods programs. And then the last element here is the specialized equipment allocation. And this funding helps school boards to buy specialized equipment for students with special education needs. This has a formula and a claims-based component to it. So that was the ministry speak on the funding model and how the school board, and in particular special education, attracts funding. So going into our 26-27 or forecasting where we will be 26-27, we have our projected enrollment. So the first grid that you'll see there shows our overall average daily enrollment or expected ADE. And as you can see, our current ADE at our 25-26 revised estimates, so at our November-December filing with the ministry, we were at 56,740 students. We are projecting a slight decrease of 1% in our student population, or 566 students, so that we will just be over 56,000 students. This reduction in enrollment, it is a reflection of a larger trend in the province where a year-over-year decrease in student population has started to be the trend in many, if not all, school boards. For special education, the forecast is a slight decrease in the overall enrollment. So the ADE then translates into attracting funding, and in this case here for special education. So with those projected enrollment numbers, we expect special education to attract a little over $112 million. It's slightly less than our current school year by about $1 million. As I indicated earlier, you will see that the per pupil amount is the largest attractor. The special education per pupil amount is the largest attractor, generating $52.9 million, or expected to generate. This is an estimation as we are still working through the budget process. So again, this is the funding that will be attracted or we're expecting to attract here at the school board. So that being said, what's next? Aside from staff continuing to work through the budget process, we have the provincial government. They don't resume at Queen's Park until March 23rd. There is no indication subsequent to that when we might have the provincial budget tabled. We're hoping by the end of March, but it could go into April. Historically, after that provincial budget is tabled, then the education sector shortly after receives their budget outlines and communication and documentation thereon. School board staff will await the technical paper, which will give us all the details behind the year's funding for the school board, and as well as any changes that might have occurred from the previous funding model, additions, subtractions, increases, hopefully increases, and the percentages thereon. However, as I indicated earlier, we don't know, and we haven't been given any indication as to what, if any, changes we will see to the model. We will continue our presentations and consultations with committees, administrators, and staff, and a full draft budget. We are targeting to be bringing that to board in May for approval. With that, staff will then finish up approval of that budget. Staff will then finish up and get the detailed EFIS package, which is the financial reporting package that we submit to the ministry, and that will be targeted for mid to late June. And with that, I will take any questions on the funding model.
Great. Thank you very much, Superintendent Van Nispen. Okay, that was a lot of information. Lots of categories there, but education funding is complex for sure. But I know in SEAC we've spent this 4 years as a committee kind of going through those over the years, and I know it takes a lot to kind of understand it all. But thank you very much, Corey. Okay, do we have any questions for Superintendent Van Nispen at this time? Kevin, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm having a hard time trying to read without my glasses and see my screen with my glasses. It looks like we're going to have a loss of $1 million to the special education fund by this. That's your rough estimate right now, right? And we're losing 67 students in special education. If I'm not mistaken, I did a quick little math there. That's a lot of money per student that we're losing at this point. And for the last number of years, we've also been increasing dramatically. We've been the fastest growing board in the province gaining more than a school a year worth of students. And now we're going to lose a school of students, like an elementary school next year. It seems a little odd.
Superintendent Van Nispen, did you want to speak to that?
Yeah, thank you, and through the chair to chair co-chair Barry. So the enrollment piece, this is a trend that, as I indicated, we're seeing across the province. Our school board is feeling less of an effect, although we are showing a decrease in enrollment. There are far more many boards in the province that have seen this decline for the past number of years and has seen significant decline for the past number of years. So we are one of a handful, 4 or 5 school boards that we have seen we're plateauing. We're seeing a slight decrease. Can't speak to beyond this next year as to what our longer term is, as this is something that has been for us more recently developing. Numerous different factors provincially that are playing into this. I can say from the local perspective and seeing through the planning department, a slowdown in individuals moving into Simcoe County, closing of houses, building of houses and whatnot, definitely has dropped off dramatically. So hopefully this is just a momentary pause in the growth that we've seen in the area, and then we will pick back up again in the near future.
Follow up, Kevin?
I'd just like to point out for everybody else who hasn't been through these things for the last 15 years, we get more money per student in elementary school, I believe, than we do in high school, correct? And it seems that specifically we're losing them in the elementary school system and gaining them in the high school system. So we're sort of getting a double whammy here.
Sorry, didn't hear a question in there. Just a comment,
Kevin?
Kevin?
I just wanted to point out that it wasn't mentioned that one of the reasons why it's so much money with so few students that we're losing is we're losing them in the elementary school, it looks like, but we're actually gaining in the high schools where we get less per student.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I think I also saw Trustee Lloyd's hand.
Yes, and thank you. And sort of Kevin asked sort of what I was concerned about, because having been a trustee when we faced declining enrollment before, it does significantly affect our funding and our available resources. We weathered this last year quite well in comparison to other boards. This has been talked about a lot at the Ontario Public School Board Association. There were some significant problems in some boards who faced dramatic decline last year. You know, we are facing lower birth rates, much less immigration than we had before. And so I'm just wondering, Superintendent Nispen, if this continues, what our strategy will be to offset some of this decreased funding, because it is problematic. And, you know, we're already pressured with special education significantly. And I'm just wondering, you know, either Superintendent Van Nispen or Superintendent Jacobs, if you have any insights or can share what our strategy will be to maintain service, to ensure we support our students with special education needs when there might be a drop in funding. And we certainly don't see this Minister of Education stepping forward to offer us any increased funding in this area moving forward. So thank you.
Superintendent Van Nispen?
Thank you, and through Chair Rafik to Trustee Lloyd. I'll start and talk sort of general overall school board, and then I don't know if Superintendent Jacobs wants to comment specifically with regards to special education. So as a school board, this isn't just isolated to the special education area. This is going to be across all areas of the board. It isn't just special education that is going to see a reduction in funding. This will be all areas of the school board. So, you know, as this budget develops, as staff are going through, decisions will be made as to what we will prioritize and continue to support and move forward. And then there may be some services that we may have to scale back a bit on. Some of the adjustment will obviously be if you don't have the students, you don't have the direct classroom requirement. However, the goal is to continue supporting the students that we have at the school board with the funding that we do have available. So definitely staff is working through. And we'll be coming in May with the budget for the next year on how we're going to provide that support.
Thank you very much, Superintendent Minispin. Superintendent Jacobs, did you want to add to that?
Yes, and a big focus that we've been working on too is building capacity so that all our principals, vice principals, teachers, EAs are utilizing the resources most effectively in their buildings. We have had a large turnover, especially with administration in our schools. So we've been rolling out specific professional development for them, but also staff development. So we've been building online professional development and in-person professional development to support and just use our resources more effectively.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, any other questions? Trustee Strawn, please go ahead.
Thank you. And when we have, like, I don't know, I'll call them ancillary costs to special education, like I'm not talking about like the direct EA support that some students have or like purchasing specific tools or things like that, but like when schools are offering additional PD, when we have additional transportation, when schools elect to create spaces within the school for students for like calming or sensory spaces, like do all of those things come out of the envelope of special education funding, or are they coming maybe from somewhere else? Just looking for some clarity on that.
Superintendent Van Nispen.
Thank you, and through Chair Rafik to Trustee Strawn. So no, there are many costs that do not come out of the special education envelope, as they do support all students. Transportation is a very good example. We have a separate funding source for home to school transportation, and that funding does include specialized transportation for special education students. One of the things, they changed that model actually a couple of years ago, and last year they righted it to include vans, which in special education we do utilize a lot of. So we do have funding for transportation. Again, that is an area that over the years when I've presented the overall budget of the school board, special education, transportation, and sick leave, those are our three big pressure points when it comes to spending at the board. Additional items you indicated there with the specialized spaces that we have in our schools. That funding, again, doesn't come from special education budget. That comes from our renewal. When it comes to physical and construction, it'll come from our school renewal funding that we do all of our renovations in our schools. Oftentimes, replacing some of the infrastructure with regards to like boilers and roofs and things like that. But it is also the refreshes and as well building specialized spaces for our special education students as well. So definitely two good examples there of outside of special education, how we're supporting all students of the board, including those that are in special education.
Follow-up, Trustee Strong? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, just one additional question. And like I know that the technical paper comes from the province. Like they set out the envelopes, they set the amounts, and they say you have to apply this amount of money to this envelope, and special education is one of those things. And I guess like it does take a while to learn all of these things. I don't know how committee members have felt, but I know for myself as a trustee, like I felt like I was just kind of getting to know what was going on, and then the province just changed it, and they're like, "Oh, we actually do it this way now." So we've been getting to know a new thing, and similar but different. And I'm just wondering if the province, with the technical paper, and do they like give a rationale? Like, is there a reason why they say like this is this per student amount, and this is why this is it for one student, and this is why this is what it is for special education? Like, do they give you that kind of detail? And like I personally haven't seen it. I guess I haven't asked this question before, but I'd be interested in seeing that if it's available.
Superintendent Van Nispen?
Thank you. And through Chair Rafik to Trustee Strawn. So you don't necessarily get a specific reason for maybe a change in the calculation. Oftentimes, when the budget does come out, there'll be a memo that goes out to the system. It will highlight high level what from a provincial level, what the focus the province is asking the school boards to focus on. They will also include some commentary if there has been a significant change to a particular component of the technical paper. So if for positive reasons there's a significant change and increase in the special education funding that we received this year, they will probably have again high level commentary as to what the potential motivating factors are behind that. The technical paper itself is more of an explanation of what the funding is intended to be used for, what you must use the funding for. Sometimes gives an explanation to the calculation behind it. Oftentimes, if it is a set amount, it's something that's done in the background where they're looking at the complete province, all the school boards, and they'll have a factor of some sort this is how they're going to divide the funding up amongst the school boards. We may never know what exactly the calculation is. We just see that there's a change that has occurred. You can go back on the Ministry of Education website if you Google funding, Ministry of Ontario funding. They actually have a page for each of the prior years. So it has those memos. It'll have the technical papers on there. It'll have any other supporting documents that the ministry may have released to that year for their budget. Oftentimes there is a special education memo, a document as well that gives far more detail. It's where I glean this presentation and the ministry speak that I presented tonight. It's where I glean that information from. So it will get more into the nuts and bolts of it, but I don't know if you'll actually get an explanation as to why the calculation is done a specific way, just how. Don't know if that helps. Again, we at our finance staff here, we wait in anticipation every year of that technical guide to then see where we've got our pluses and minuses coming to us.
Follow up, Trustee Strong? No, you're good.
No, just thank you for that. I'm kind of always wondering if I'm missing something. It doesn't seem like I am. So I'll wait for that information as well, but thank you for the explanation.
Thank you very much. I feel like I spent my first 4 years on SEAC really understanding special education funding. And like you said, just when I felt like I had it down, I know the SIP, I know the SEA, I know this, I know that, that's when they changed everything. And I feel like that's the way it pretty much goes every few years. They change all our acronyms and the envelopes and all that. Just want to keep us on our toes. Okay. Any other questions for Superintendent Van Nispen at this time? Okay, I'm not seeing anything. Well, thank you very much, Corey. All right, so I will move on in our agenda. Okay, so next up we have C2B, SEAC Consultation Special Education Plan 2026-2027 with Principal Francis. So go ahead whenever you're ready.
Thank you very much. Through you, Chair, to the rest of the committee. We are looking at some feedback for our special education plan. As you know, this is part of what the process is every year. So we would ask members of the committee to please check. There was a link provided in an email sent on February 27th, and we are looking for feedback for those suggested edits to be given by April 24th. So that we can incorporate those into our special education plan for this year. We will have a final review of this special education plan on May 11th at our SEAC meeting. And we really appreciate the time that you take every year to read this carefully and provide us with feedback so that we can update and always work to improve our special education plan. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Principal Francis. I would encourage everyone to read it. It is a very long document, but I know I read it every year, and every year I find things that I'm like, oh, really? This is how we're saying this? Maybe we should say it this way. I always manage to see things in there that I haven't seen before, or I think of something else that should be in there, and that's really the feel that I've gotten from the whole committee in the past years. Somebody always comes up with something that it's like, oh yeah, why is that not there? So I really appreciate everyone's collaborated effort on this, and I would encourage everyone to take a read. I do have one question. We had been speaking about modified days, and we had talked about incorporating that into the special education plan. I know Superintendent Jacobs and I had talked about that. Is that's the current plan, that's being added into the plan at this time? Sorry, go ahead, Superintendent Jacobs.
So through the chair to the committee, yes, that is the plan, that we're going to build in the modified day into this special education plan.
Excellent. Okay, thank you very much. Do we have any other questions at this time for Principal Francis? Okay, not seeing any, so I will move on. And then my apologies, I'm just going to backtrack for 1 second. Superintendent Van Nispen, I jotted down a question that I forgot to ask you. You mentioned how we've talked about at SEAC quite a bit, that a lot of our funding models are based on census data. Can you just confirm for me what year of census data are you currently working with? Do you know off the top of your head?
Thank you, and to the chair. To be honest with you, I can't remember the date off the top of my head. However, they did update it when they went to the core education model 2 years ago. They are using more recent, I want to say it's the 2021 census data. They are using it. However, it is a phased-in approach. And so it's been building. So I think we're 2 years into a 4 or 5 year phase in. So it's been slowly working its way along. At least they did update it to 2020, because we were working to the 2006 or 2008 for the longest time, which was totally not relevant anymore to this area.
Yes, thank you very much. I knew we were working off the 2006 for so long, and I knew it was a phased in, and I thought in my memory that when it was totally phased in, that we were still going to be several years behind. But maybe if you can just, I don't know, for future meeting, you can kind of let us know for sure. I always think that that's a very important factor, that the ministry, I feel, has the tools to update for us and would make a big difference for us. So that's one I like to keep on the forefront of the conversation. Thank you. Okay. So like I said, moving on in our agenda. So that takes us to committee reports, which we have none at this time. So then that takes us to SEAC member updates. Do we have any SEAC member updates at this time? Any events being held or anything like that anyone would like to share and talk about? Kelly, please go ahead.
Hi. So just a bit of an update. I wanted to let everybody know that OAP entry to school programs has begun March 2nd. And I wanted to let you know the Simcoe, like the locations in Simcoe, we have in Alliston, Barrie, Bradford, Aurelia, Midland, and we just started the program in Wasaga Beach. So there's that. And one other, just going to go to my flyer real quick. I just want to let everybody know that Let's Socialize program is starting. I'm not sure if everybody's familiar with it, but it's social skills and healthy sexuality program with Empower Simcoe and Mackenzie Health. It is starting March 26th to June 18th. Our numbers are a bit low, so I just wanted to kind of put that out if there's anybody that you know or that can benefit from this program. It is 12 to 16. Living with a neurodiversity such as autism spectrum disorder, fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, and an intellectual disability. Be able to participate independently for 1.5 hours per week. It's also like a parent group as well. So child and parent are in the program together. Sorry, it's like separate, but they run together. And from 6 p.m. to 7:30, I can send this out to Lori so that you'll have more of the details. And yeah, numbers are a little bit low, so we're still open and taking referrals for that program.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Kelly. And yes, please pass that along to Lori. I'm sure she'll get it out to everyone. Okay, Kristen, go ahead.
Yeah, so I can share that CTN has a couple of events coming up. We always try to hold some family events over March break. So all of the events are no cost and they are listed on our website, so I can link to that. But one fun one is the March break Boredom Buster Magic Show in Aurelia, which is happening on Tuesday. And actually, we have another event that's happening right now at Horseshoe. We did a family snow tubing. So I had to pass and I'm here instead. But they have a great night for snow tubing while there's still snow and it's like 16 degrees. So we had like 80 kids, I think, sign up for that one. So it's all of our events are inclusive. And often sensory friendly. And so it's a good place to send families if they're looking for activities over March break.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Kristen. And kudos to you. You picked us over snow tubing in this beautiful weather. Thank you very much.
That's how much you guys mean to me.
I was just going to say, I feel very honored. I do. You stuck to your commitments. Thank you. We appreciate you. Although I kind of wish for your sake that you were snow tubing in this beautiful weather. Excellent. Okay. Thank you. So lots of great events going on. Nothing else to share from committee members at this time. Not seeing any. Okay, so then next up on our agenda takes us to board reports. And I'm a little off my game tonight. Usually I ask my trustee colleagues ahead of time, and I did not ask them ahead of time. I'm going to, Trustee Lloyd, are you able to give us a board update?
Sure, I can try this. And then my trustee colleague here, Strawn, Trustee Strawn, can help out if there's something I missed. We got an update at our last board meeting that our student trustee think tank is working on creating a welcome video for our students. So students who come to our school will be able to get this welcome, and it's part of their agenda to support student well-being and to strengthen the student experience. So our student trustees are working on that and will hopefully have it done before the end of the school year. I was absent for the last meeting, apologize for that. So I'm not sure what was shared exactly, but one of our big woohoo moments was that our climate survey was done, and with 88% of our students indicating that they were, felt safe and welcomed at our school. And that's something we've been working on for a very long time. And it's something we've been doing targeted initiatives to support that. So we're very pleased with that. Moving forward, we're sort of in a wait and hold position with this Minister of Education. We're not sure what's coming. It's been pretty quiet for the last few months because the House has not been sitting. The House returns March 23rd. So we're sort of anticipating that there'll be some of these announcements from this minister or this ministry once the House gets back and is sitting as to how things are moving forward, funding, budgeting, all of that, because it's been pretty quiet. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it has been pretty quiet for the last 3 months. So we are sort of waiting with bated breath as to what might come forward moving forward. The Minister of Education has shared some recent comments in the media after he visited a school in London about what he wants to see moving forward in public education in the province. One of the things he has mentioned numerous times is he wants consistency and boards to operate in the same across the province. He made comment that right now he thinks we have 72 different education systems in the province of Ontario, and he wants it to be one education system with programs and delivery of services aligned. So I anticipate moving forward, since he has mentioned that a couple times, there will be more information coming forward from the ministry with respect to that as well. And I'll turn it over to Trustee Strawn if she has anything else she'd like to add.
Guess the only just a couple things that I would add is that we have kindergarten registration open now. So if any of the families that you work with have children who are age 4, or in some cases age 3 even, that are ready to go to year 1 or 2 kindergarten, the registration is open. So we're accepting that. And we also have registration open now for our summer learning program. So that's something that is available across the county. And there's information on our website about that. And then the last thing that I would just mention is we do have nominations open for character awards. So if you have staff or students from SCDSB that you work with that you would like to recognize as part of that, there's nomination forms on our website. And it's a great way to recognize individuals who are maybe making an impact within your organizations and within our schools.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Trustee Lloyd and Trustee Strong. Okay. All right. So moving on in our agenda, which, see, there's a reason I print it instead of have it digital, but it would help if I print the right one. Like I said, I am so off my game. I really apologize. Okay. Okay, so we have no golden buzzer this evening. Our golden buzzer is usually one of our favorite times, but we wanted to be respectful of everyone's time tonight. We weren't sure with our delegations if we might go over, so we did elect not to have our golden buzzer tonight, but I'm sure it will be back next month with a vengeance. Okay, so then that would take us to our correspondence. So we did have correspondence attached from the Durham District School Board, the provincial proposal. It was discussing the provincial proposal to replace trustees with provincially appointed supervisors. And then we did have special education Ontario funding support for students with special education and mental health needs. We had that correspondence attached there as well. Did anyone have any questions or comments on those? The response to our letter was interesting. I always find they just explain the money that they have already given to us, which I feel like we are all very aware of. We spend lots of time at SEAC learning about that. But whenever we ask for some maybe increased funding or some changes, the correspondence usually just outlines what they have already given us, which is what I really found that did. So I was a little disappointed that I didn't see any new information there, but they did note at the very end that they would take our letter into consideration when working through funding. So that was one positive part. Okay, so next up on our agenda, we do have other matters. So like I mentioned, we do have the opportunity to discuss our delegations and if anyone has any questions, but maybe I'll just quickly ask if anyone has any other matters. Like I said, I want to be respectful of everyone's time. I want to make sure everyone gets their questions in. So if anyone has anything for other matters that was not connected to our delegations, So again, some of our committee members are a bit new. If you have had a burning question or a comment or anything that you wanted to share that maybe just didn't really fit on our agenda so far, now would be the time to do so. Does anyone have any questions or anything? Okay, not seeing any at this time. So I'll go back to our delegation discussion. So I did want to give the committee the opportunity to discuss. We did have our delegation. So if anyone has any questions or comments, we had the opportunity to ask our delegates for questions of clarification. But if anyone just wants to have a broader discussion about the topic, now would be the time. Superintendent Van Nispen has graciously offered to stay for the conversation so that he can help us answer some questions as well. So I'll open the floor. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Kevin, please go ahead.
Sorry, then they moved my mute button. My question is in regards to wait lists for the program. The number of students in there is nowhere near the number of students who would qualify. And a large number of students turn down the opportunity, but there's still a wait list. I'm wondering, like, how many people that do apply don't get in?
Superintendent Jacobs?
So it is, and I do have consultant Mitch Berry with us as well. So he goes through the process with OSAT and the packages in terms of going in there. I do have those numbers, I think. And, oh, sorry, just give me a moment. Okay, I can't find it. One sec. Coming. So, so there isn't a wait list at all schools. There are some wait lists, and again, it's dependent on space. It's depending on the OLSAT results. It's dependent on the most urgent need for the students as well. There is no guarantee that if one family member gets into the program, that another automatically does. Um, so right now, there is a wait list of approximately about 40 students. Is that right? No, it's more than that. But again, geographically, they're all over the place, right? So, and that was mentioned earlier in the presentation as well. And it's just finding the spaces, arranging the transportation, looking at the testing results, looking at the most urgent need for the students. And again, the whole premise is least restrictive environment. So it's approximately a third of the students that do get identified as gifted that actually get places in the congregated classes. So again, we're trying to build capacity at a system level so that all teachers can meet the needs of gifted learners in their schools. So, it's part of growing success, the universal design for learning, the differentiation of instruction. We should be meeting the needs of students that may be struggling, but we should also be meeting the needs of the students that are exceeding as well. So, yes, but there is a wait list at this time.
Follow up, Kevin?
Yeah. The profile of gifted learners is quite broad, including those with multiple exceptionalities. If we're looking at sort of improving the back end, improving the amount of skill at individual schools to deliver the learning locally, do you anticipate that there will be some students that may not fit into that category, that there may still be some need for other options that cannot be served within their own schools? I mean, I'm always a big fan of get the knowledge, get the skills to the local school, so a kid doesn't have to go an hour across the county to find a placement. But if there are students that aren't able to fit into a local program, are we open to working out creative solutions for those that just don't fit in to any new programs that we're developing?
Superintendent Jacobs?
Through the chair to co-chair Kevin Berry. Yes, we're always open. So grades 5, 6, 7, and 8, if there is space, we are still allowing people to enter those programs. It should be clear too that anyone that's currently in the program will continue in the program. We are working with student achievement, so special education and student achievement are working together in creating professional development in person and online right now to support gifted enriched learning experience in the school. We will also be continuing to provide centrally provided enrichment opportunities as well. But right now, grades 5 to 8 still open if space permits, and anyone that's currently in the program will continue.
Thank you very much. Another question, Kevin?
Well, one follow-up to it. So my main concern is I've always had issues with the gifted program, not that it wasn't useful, but that it didn't meet the need of a large number of students. I was never to say that we should get rid of it. Maybe we should enhance it. Maybe we should open up different programs. Unfortunately, without ABC on SEAC, it's been very hard to get input from those that spend all their time thinking about that particular issue. I've been talking to ABC, and they're forming a local chapter, and they will be putting up nominations to join SEAC, which I think is a great thing to have. But I'm really concerned as what is going to replace the program, right? I'm all for more efficiencies, but it's trying to get in the expertise into a local school from now till next September. It's a big ask, and I'm wondering what the plan is. I mean, I don't ask for it tonight, but at some point we really do need a presentation of what the plan is. Because it does make me nervous, right, to try to do it in this quickly. That was a statement, not a question.
Did you want to speak to that, Superintendent Jacobs, or?
We'll take that away for sure.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions or comments from not from trustees, from the committee is what I meant, sorry. Okay, Trustee Lloyd, go ahead.
Thank you, and through you to the group. I know that only 1/3 of our gifted students are in congregated classes. So that means that currently our educators are meeting the needs of the other 2/3 that are already in the classrooms that we have. So I would hope that we already have capacity there and within the system, and that the efforts that we put into enhancing the work that we're already doing and the opportunities for our gifted students, that we would meet the needs of all of our students, because I believe that's what the expectation is. And I will honestly say, in my tenure as a trustee, I have from time to time struggled with the concept of the segregated program for some of our gifted students. Because we've worked on strengthening an inclusive model for all of our students. I think it builds and strengthens all of our schools, builds, community capacity, so students remain in their same community with the students that they live with on a daily basis and they ride on the bus with and all of those things. So can you just assure to me that we will continue to build and strengthen this program to meet the needs of the students? We must be doing it well with 2/3 of our students already, in our systems, in our regular classrooms now. So maybe you can just add on to that, Superintendent Jacobs, just to give me some ideas of things that we are going to do to build the further or increase capacity if it's needed.
Superintendent Jacobs.
Yes, through the chair to Trustee Lloyd. So our consultants in special education, Mitch Berry being one of them, is working with student achievement to create targeted professional development to support enriched learning in the classrooms with our curriculum. We're looking at resources that can support this professional development, and again, virtual and also in person. And yeah, I don't know if there's anything you wanted to speak to that, Consultant Barry.
Yeah, I could speak a little bit to it. Yeah, so I agree, and I think what I heard from like some of the parents and the people who advocated for the program was like a lot of people felt like, when in their experience they got extra math sheets and they weren't really they weren't being looked at in terms of breadth and depth of knowledge. So what I would love to do is we're currently in the process of working with a whole team of people and trying to create resources that will really allow educators to take key concepts from the curriculum and be able to use those within the classroom to have depth and breadth. So they'll be able to have that curriculum concept that they're going to be teaching possibly to the whole class, but what are some ways that they can expand that to that child's specific learning, to that child's specific interest, so that we can have that within the classroom setting? Because I agree with Trustee Lloyd and what she said. I think it's really beneficial that students won't be traveling around to homeschools, that, one child won't just get into the program, whereas another child might be getting on the wait list just due to availability and proximity. So that's the hope going forward. We're kind of in the process of drafting up some of those lessons and some of those PD and some of those resources right now. So I'm really looking forward to what it might bring to the 2/3 of students who are into the classroom and how that can kind of incorporate the whole system rather than just the students who are in the congregated program currently.
Great. Thank you very much. Kevin? Oh, sorry. Trustee Strong, did I see your hand too? I'll come to you next.
In regards to Trustee Lloyd, 2/3 are not in the gifted program. But I would argue that that's not because we are serving those 2/3 well. I run into members of that 2/3 that have dropped out of the system, have gone into homeschool, or are not thriving in our school system. Their parents did not want to send them away because they had other issues, their anxiety issues, or their fear of being on buses didn't allow them to be transported. So we're not really servicing them in our classrooms. Right? I think there's a huge chunk of them, maybe as large as 1/3, that are being missed at present. It's why I'm more than open to discussing reimagining the whole program. But it's not that we're doing such a good job in our schools. I think we need to look at this again because we're not doing a good job in our schools. Right, and that's something I see every day. But thanks.
Okay. Trustee Strong, did I see you put your hand up?
Yes. I guess my comments and questions are just a bit of a follow-up to Kevin's, and like I don't have the frame of reference to know if we're doing a good job or not a good job. And I think that's something that we need to be able to evaluate as a board. Like, what is doing a good job? And how do we know if we're doing it? Like, we need to be able to set some metrics and have some sort of to be able to understand that. Are we meeting the needs of the students? And so I'd be interested in hearing more about how we'll do that. And I think, like, for all of our special education students, I know we're doing a special education audit. I don't know if that's going to, like, some of that information will come out of that, but whatever your exceptionality is, I think we need to understand, like, are we meeting those needs? and not just meeting them, like, are we helping our students to excel at school and meet their full potential at school? And then I had a couple of other questions. One was, if we eliminate, like, as you said, like the congregate classes going forward and are not taking new grade 4 students into them, does that open up options, like we're resourcing for additional resources to be applied system wide? So that was one of my questions. And then the other question I had was in relation to the high school gifted program, which I know was phased out a couple of years ago. So maybe we can look at that experience, like what happened since then. So what happened since we stopped offering the gifted program at Barrie North, for example, to all of the students that were coming there from, like, say, Codrington. Like, people have gone into grade 9 and 10 for sure since we've phased that program out, maybe even grade 11. So what's that experience like? Do we have any information on that? Are we tracking that at all? And maybe that can help to form part of our conversation as well.
Thank you very much. Superintendent Jacobs.
Through the chair to Trustee Strong. We do have some data for that, but I'm going to take that away so we can have a more fulsome response for our next SEAC committee meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. Trustee Lloyd, I saw your hand. And
thank you. I just did have one follow-up question for Superintendent Jacobs related to this. We are one of the few boards left in the province that still offers congregated gifted program. I think close to 90% of the boards in the province are not offering congregated classrooms. So I'm just wondering if there would be the opportunity through discussions with other boards to sort of, I would say, research best practices, best strategies, best opportunities to enhance the program. You know, in this model, because the other boards are doing it, they're delivering it, they have been for a while. And so I'm just wondering if those opportunities exist, or if we have already researched those or have sought out those opportunities.
Superintendent Jacobs.
Through the chair to Trustee Lloyd. So yes, currently there are 9 school boards out of 72 that have congregated gifted classes, and the boards that I speak to, neighboring boards that I speak to that do have it, I know they are evaluating their gifted congregated programs as well and looking at other alternatives.
Trustee Lloyd, go ahead.
But is there the opportunity to follow up with the boards that are not offering congregated classes as to what their best practices are and the things that they're doing to make it work and hopefully work successfully?
Superintendent.
Through the chair to Trustee Lloyd. Yeah, I will speak to a few of the boards that I regularly speak to see what they're doing to support gifted learners in their home schools.
Thank you. Sarah, go ahead.
Thank you. So I just joined this committee this year, so being relatively new, I understand that this may be an odd question, but I was just curious when the decision was made to phase out the classes and what documents I would be able to access to learn more about the board conversation, rationale, and discussion at that point in time.
I believe, Sarah, that the our last meeting was when we spoke about it. That would be the document that I believe that's the only document out there that that references the changes. I'm not sure, Superintendent Jacobs, if you want to speak more to
that. Through the chair, yes. So there's a report that I bring each year in February to SEAC just to talk to the proposed changes for the September of that following year. So that's where we discuss that.
Do you have a follow-up or good for now?
Yeah, I just like thinking back to our meeting last month, I took it as that where it was a proposed change, and I thought that it was being voted on by the board, like kind of following that process of things. So I guess it's a bit of a learning curve for me.
That's an interesting point too. That a part of this is that it's not a trustee decision. It's an operational decision. So it is a decision that lies with our educators. It's not one that will come through trustees to vote on.
Okay, thank you. That provided the clarification I'm needing. Appreciate it.
No problem. Any other questions or comments from the group? Okay, I did have one question that I was going to ask Superintendent Van Nispen. I've been speaking with a lot of families about this in the last couple of weeks, and we've talked about a lot of the things that we've talked about here as a committee. But they've had a lot of questions for me about the financial part of things as well. And so, Superintendent Van Nispen, I was just wondering if you could speak to the financial implications of a change like this. What would our short-term implications be? What would the long-term changes be? Because I feel like with the phase out program, it may be a little different for the next 4 years or so, could even end up costing us a little bit more for a bit. I'm not sure. Maybe you can touch on that, and then what the changes would be after the changes were complete as well, after the phase out was complete. If you could speak to that a little.
Thanks, and through the chair to the chair. So the current program, as it stands in the current year, transportation and direct staffing, it's about $2.1 million. And so when you have a program that phases out, as this one is projected, obviously it's going to be little increments as you go along to then redistribute, reutilize, repurpose that funding into alternate resources. I can't speak as to what the ultimate rollout will look like or be, but a good assumption would be that some of those funds will be repurposed and focused on the gifted program and what it looks like going forward. As well as the dollars will then be as well looked at alternate resources for alternate programs within special education.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Okay, I'm just going to double check. Any other questions or comments at this time? Kevin, go ahead.
Last comment. As you mentioned, a large chunk of this is transportation. When you're shipping students all across the province, it's expensive. Now, transportation is paid for out of the transportation budget, not the special education budget. So what's happening is the board is saving money, but special education is not as much, not the same amount, so to speak. Just to reiterate what I said at the last meeting, we really have to consider how tightly we view these envelopes, right? Because you're taking out $2 million from the budget, but if $250,000 is transportation or more is transportation, I don't know what the exact percentage is. Right? That's money that's coming out of it that is being used to serve our students. That's leaving. We need to be a little more flexible of getting other money coming in to compensate for what these students are losing. Because really, it's just the cost to deliver a service. That's all.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions or comments at this time. I thank you everybody for the fulsome discussion. I will just mention as well, so the way things kind of travel through our board, tonight we approved our minutes from our last meeting where we first received the report on these changes. So those minutes will now go to board. So at our trustee board meeting at the end of March, sorry, the last Wednesday in March, the date is escaping me at the moment, I'm sorry, but it's the last Wednesday in March. So those minutes will come to the Board of Trustees, and I would expect that there will be some sort of discussion at that meeting as well. But like I mentioned before, this is not a trustee decision. This is not something that needs to pass through trustees as a vote. It is an operational decision, but I would expect that there would be more conversation about it at that time as well, just if anyone was looking for further follow-up. Okay, so I'll just check one more time. No other matters. Anyone have anything? Okay, I don't see anything at this time. So do we have any notice of motion for next meeting? Okay, not seeing any. So I would be looking for a motion to adjourn at this time. Kevin, thank you very much. Seconded by anyone wants to stay? Andrea, thank you. All right, all those in favor? And that carries. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. I appreciate your time. So our next meeting will be on April the 13th, and I will see you all then. Hope you enjoy the next day of sunshine or so that we get.